Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Tariq Khalid. I'd like to welcome to our program here at Sharjah Media Corporation, doing good, and we hope by Allah's mercy and grace, the believers, that at this particular time in your life that you are doing good and Allah is pleased with you. And those of you who have not accepted the guidance, may Allah guide you and shine the light in your hearts and encourage you, which will inspire you, encourage you to turn to the correct belief. Today in Doing Good, we want to talk about, partially, about dealing with people's shortcomings. In many instances, we have a tendency, I'm talking about the human being, to not be very patient with people and their inabilities or lack of capabilities to do certain things. And at the same time, to give them credit for what it is that they can do, meaning that we don't readily accept that a person does not meet a particular standard. And if he doesn't meet that standard, we have a tendency in many instances, like kick him to the curb, as we say, as opposed to accepting the fact that people are on different levels, that we have a standard that we're pursuing, and people on different levels. And the higher principle is, how do I help that person to reach that standard? And if that person cannot reach that standard, still, how can I help him? What it is that I can do to assist him? Now, a lot of people say, well, brother, you know, if you make it or you don't, if you have it or you don't have it. But if we look at the higher principle, and the higher principle I'm saying because we have to look at who were the best people who walked on this earth. They were the prophets of Allah. Okay? And so what did they do? Their efforts were, wherever they were at a particular time, to bring the people whom they relayed the message from Allah to a standard. Okay? That standard, of course, is Allah's standard, meaning this is Allah's requirements, that you need to meet these requirements. If you want to enter paradise, Allah wants you to do these things. So this becomes a test for us, doesn't it? That some people, they make excuses, says, I can't do this, I can't do that. So you'll find in many instances, the Prophet ﷺ, he used to be very, very patient with people and give them the bottom line, okay, in relationship to what it is that they should do to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And one man came to him and he asked him, and the Prophet ﷺ told him, you know, basically the 5 pillars of Islam. And he said, okay, I will do that, I will do this, but I will do no more. And the Prophet ﷺ said, more or less, this will man, if he does this, he will be a person who enters paradise. So that means that there has to be a higher standard, and of course, like anything else, that people will achieve and strive for that. Some people will achieve it. And then there has to be a bottom line, meaning the bottom line is what Allah will not accept when it goes below that. And we know, you know, Allah knows what's in the hearts of people, and Allah knows what people's capability is. And of course, we believe ultimately that Allah is most merciful. And we believe that what is it in this? A guy says, man, I just can't do it. I can't get up in the morning and pray, brother. And I've met people like this. He says, brother, you know, whatever I do, I can't get up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day and pray. I just can't make it. You know, but we have to ask ourselves in relationship to this, first of all, where is our value? Where is our value? And we need to look at this. All of us need to look at where is the value that we have for achieving and striving for goodness, righteousness. How important is that to us? How valuable is it? Because if somebody told me, for example, and I think the average person out there would agree, if someone told me, listen, man, I'm going to give you 5, not even big ones. I'm going to give you 5 small gold coins if you get up every morning and go to the masjid and pray. I'll give you 5. You know, people would not go to sleep. All of us know that. We would not go to sleep. You couldn't, the line at the masjid, you could not get on the line because the people would stay the night before. They would stand in line to get the gold coins, and you would have many people in the line who are not even Muslim. They said, teach me how to pray so I can get the 5 coins. We all know this. This is just human nature. So we need to look at something. Allah tests us with unseen. with the unseen. Believing and not seeing, that you have to believe that the reward is there from Allah without seeing it. But there's also another element that a non-Muslim could not understand, and that every Muslim I've ever talked to has been exposed to it, meaning that Allah has manifested at some point in time in his or her life an example that came from the unseen but became seen. Something, for example, that they may have desired, something they may have thought about, something they may have dreamed about, or something which they may not have even conceived of. And Allah has just manifested it out of nowhere. In all of us, I have never met a Muslim any place in the world who has said that he hasn't experienced this in some way, shape, or form. So Allah manifests in many times the unseen in a seen way for the ones who understand and believe. Now, people who believe in luck and chance, this is what they're identified as. Well, it's just good luck, or it's perchance. There's no such thing as good luck. There's no such thing as just perchance. Allah is aware and conscious of every single thing. That thing which you imagine would happen and the things which you could not imagine would happen. And none of it happens without Allah's knowledge or Allah's permission. Simply. And of course, unfortunately, many people who don't accept that or believe it, but shame on them. And the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah shall conceal on the day of judgment the shortcomings of the one who conceals the shortcomings of the other. And it's collected by a Muslim. So in relationship to this, we should be very careful, and I'm saying this to remind myself of this, about relating the weaknesses or shortcomings of individuals. There is one thing to try to encourage people and to help them develop themselves, and particularly dealing with our own family members, children, wives, husbands, cousins, aunts, uncles, mothers and fathers, whichever relationship there might be, close friends. But we should be very careful about this, and we should be always an encouragement for the good. And again, I'm reminding myself of this. We should be an encouragement for the good, always reminding the people of the positive aspects of even the most negative experience. And of course, people have a host of those things. If you just go to the hospital, as an example, and you find many people in the hospital depressed because they don't understand why their condition is like that. You take a guy, for example, he was a fantastic athlete. He was a champion. And then all of a sudden, this bang, overnight, and this has happened historically. You have a champion, he was on his way to explore his career, and then some disabling disease just comes out of nowhere. He had no idea. And next thing he knows, he's crippled, and then in a short period of time, he dies. And this has happened to many athletes. And of course, it's very difficult for an athlete. This is a serious challenge, especially someone who's been a champion, to deal with this psychologically and emotionally. And of course, the people around him, they had such great hope for him and for his career or her. And all of a sudden, everything just fell apart. But we need to understand something. What is that relationship that we have with Allah? All of us, Allah says, every soul shall have a taste of death. He doesn't say when or how, but he says every soul shall die. It doesn't mean that, fine, I just made my first million. No. Now I'm looking for greener pastures. No. I just got this big contract. No. I just graduated from this university, which was very difficult for me. No, not that at all. This is not the criteria. I just finished memorizing the Quran. These are all achievements, but that has no relationship to your death. It has no influence one way or the other. So ultimately, we have to realize that whatever it is that we're doing in this world, there's a timeline on it. And none of us know when the time will run out. So we have to prepare ourselves for this, the back end first. And whatever it is that we're doing, we need to just look at our life and say, okay, fine, how is this going to affect me or affect my death? Is it going to be something that's going to be a light for me in the grave, or is it something that's going to bring darkness? Is it something that is sinful, which is darkness, or is it something that's going to bring light? And Abu Masud al-Ansari relates that the Prophet ﷺ said, one who guides another to goodness shall earn as much merit as the doer of the good deed. And it's collected by Muslim. So if we encourage the people to do good, and that person, by Allah's mercy, begins to do good in his life, then we get the reward for that. So if we take the most criminal person, the person who is a criminal, and I've known people like this who were in prison, and by Allah's mercy and grace, you know, someone came with them, they accepted Islam, they did a 180. They came out of prison, they changed their lifestyle completely, they began to practice Islam, they become the responsible part of the community, productive part of the community, and they moved on with their life. So we look at it from that point of view. The worst person in our society can become the best person in the society if he decides to change his life. And to change his life, of course, is submitting to Allah and implementing this in his life. That's the first step. And move forward from that perspective. The person who assists him will get the reward from his actions. So all of us should want to be those who are in assistance, supporters, encouragers. And that encouragement should come not necessarily only from speech. This is only one small element. And how do we manifest that in our life? And this is a very big challenge. It's a challenge for me. And I'm saying it to you as a reminder for me to be that positive person, to try to be that positive person all the time, encouraging your friends, your family members to do good things and to be an inspiration. And especially in today's world, when there's so much negativity and we're surrounded by so much foolishness and the distractions on every level and for every age. In every aspect of a society, we're finding today just about some negativity or some distraction away from the truth. And Abu Hurairah reports that the Prophet ﷺ said, one who calls others to the right path of good deeds gets as much merit as those who act upon his guidance. And the merits of the doers are not reduced thereby. And one who calls others to do wrong sins as much as the collective sins of those who follow him in sinning, and their sins shall not be reduced at all. It's collected by Sahih Muslim. So we need to look at that a person, because many people who are sinners purposely, meaning that they take pride in their sins, they're aggressive sinners, they're criminal in their sinning. And of course, we've had personalities historically, globally, who pursued these sinful acts, and they got away with it for a short period of time, so they thought. So they thought. And at some point in time, they were generally put in check by the society or elements of the society. And what is the price they have to pay? The price they have to pay is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the grave a pit of hellfire for those in disbelief. And the day of judgment for some people will be like 50,000 years, one day. That's just the day of judgment. And the hellfire will be eternal. So the people who are sinners, if you're a sinner and you're listening to us out here, and we're all sinners, but I'm talking about somebody who is aggressively sinning, who takes pride in boasting and is arrogant, flamboyant, openly, publicly sinful, even in front of the camera, like he's challenging Allah. What are you going to do to me? I'm doing as I like. Look at me. Do you know who I am? And we have people like this. They're like this, just arrogant. Think about that. If you are associated with that person in any way, shape, or form, you may be connected to his punishment. And worse yet, if you have been a person who has inspired him to do evil, then you're going to get all the evil that he's doing. And everyone else who follows that. Think about that. So this is a system of checks and balances for the people who, in many instances in world courts and these things like this, criminals who have been caught, one of the things that they say is, well, I was just following orders. I was just following orders. I was just a foot soldier, as an example. So we're saying, be a foot soldier for Allah. Turn your heart to Allah under all circumstances. And of course, we realize it's not always easy. There are sets of circumstances where people are oppressed. And they're oppressed in such a way at the threat of death, or at the threat of their families or loved ones being killed or mutilated. It's a very difficult situation to face. But the Prophet ﷺ said something very important for us to understand. Do not leave Islam. Do not leave Islam if you are threatened to be cut into pieces or burned alive. So we need to look at this. Asiyah, the wife of the Pharaoh of Moses, she was a believer, a firm believer and follower of Moses, who she raised in the house of the king of evil. He had her tortured to death. But because she would not change her belief in following Moses, Allah had elevated her to be among the leaders of the women in paradise. So we need to look at this and make choices in our life as what it is that we want and what it is we want to pursue, and to be able to draw a line between those things which are going to be beneficial to us in our hereafter and those things which are going to be harmful. So we're asking you, make the choice today before it is too late. My name is Tariq Khalid. I'd like to thank you for joining us here at Sharjah Media Corporation. I'm doing good, and may Allah bless all the believers and keep them on a straight path. And those who are striving, may He guide them to that path. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.